So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, our guests. I'm very glad to see you all today. So, my name is Alsumo Barakshina, and I'm manager of the Center for Project-Based Learning at Graduate School of Business, Higher School of Economics. And I think that we have all participants and all jury members. So I think that we may start. So, okay. And today I am so happy to open the final round and closing ceremony of the Case Championship CIMA Emerging Leaders Competition 2021, organized together with Chartered Institute of Management Accountants and Higher School of Economics. Today we are going to have 6 teams from 5 different Russian universities who will compete for the title of winner of CIMA Case Championship. And there are teams from Southern Federal University, by the way, the winner of the last year Case Championship, Novosibirsk State University of Economics and Management, Bashkir State University, Kazan Federal University, and Higher School of Economics. So I'm glad to see you all. And now I would like to give the floor to Yelena Makieva, Deputy Head of the School of Finance of Higher School of Economics, to welcome our participants. Yelena, the floor is yours. While we have some troubles with connection, I would like to hand over to Tatiana Diktyareva, Business Development Manager at CIMA Eurasia, who also wants to greet all our participants. Please welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Alsu. I'm happy to see all of you today here, and I'm really grateful to the Higher School of Economics and Unilever. Those are the 2 partners who made this championship possible. And of course, I would like to thank all our judges that are here with us today from all over the world. What else I would like to say is that today's finals is just called finals. So for most of our participants, it's just the beginning. And we wish all of them greatest of luck. But please don't forget that each time you participate in such events, this is just the beginning for something that will be really interesting and really exciting in your future career. So just consider this as an experience rather than some kind of competition. Of course, that is a competition, but everybody wins there because you all can show all your skills, see some skill gaps, and understand for yourself, how to proceed with your preparation for your future career and professional life. So thank you very much again, and I'm hoping to see a lot of great presentations today. We will be here with you, and let the greatest win today. Thank you very much, and back to you also.
Thank you, Tatiana, so much. And now we have Yelena Makieva, Deputy Head of the School of Finance of Graduate School of Business. Please, the floor is yours, Yelena.
Thank you very much. Also, I'm glad to welcome all members of jury and finalists of the second CIMA Case Championship. And our second Case Championship this year has become larger. The number of participants has grown by 50%. 300 students from 19 Russian universities took part in the regional stage. And the second stage helped us to select the best team. Today, we'll have here the performance of 6 teams and choose the final winners on this Case Championship. I wish all participants to get everything out from their presentations. And now, thank you very much, and I think we'll start.
Thank you so much, Elena. So we are a little bit run off the schedule earlier, but I think that it's okay. I think that the first team is already here, but now I am delighted to introduce you our jury members. Vadim Bajenik, head of CIMA Eurasia. Good afternoon, Vadim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Svetlana Zasukhina, Senior Manager of PricewaterhouseCoopers Russia Academy. Good afternoon, Svetlana.
Good afternoon.
Alina Krasnikova, Finance Business Partner at Unilever. Good afternoon, Alina.
Good afternoon. Hi, team.
Georgi Nam, Unilever Future Leaders Program Management Trainee at Finance Unilever.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Parvina Bilov, co-founder of CFO Club Azerbaijan, Group Finance Manager at Mirlex. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. So, teams, be ready. We have very strong and strict jury members. So, good luck. And first of all, I would like to remind you our common rules. Each team will have 15 minutes for presentations. So in order to follow our schedule, I will let you know before 1 minute left. It will sound like 1 minute. It may interrupt you, but I hope for your kind understanding, and my apologies in advance. And then it will be 15 minutes for answers to questions. And our first team to present their solutions is Business 5 from Novosibirsk State University of Economics and Management. Please be ready to share your presentation. So you also may share it on screen now. Yes, we see. Good. So my timer is ready. Yes, definitely ready. So dear team, dear jury, good luck to all. You may start.
Hello, we are Business 5 team students of Novosibirsk State University of Economics and Management. And today we would like to present our case solution about Runabout company. Today I will perform. My name is Ilya Atlasov, as well as Daya Voronina, Anastasia Vagaitseva, and Елизавета Tkacheva. Now we can start. Our team recommends implementing activities in the following order: A, B, C, and not implementing activity D. The reason for this decision will be described below. So, activity A. Exploring the problems of cybersecurity was highlighted. It is integrity and security of hoverboard's information system, insufficient protection of external input-output information flows, low traffic exchange of information between the security services of competing companies in the market to keep information up to date on various types of fraud, exposure of companies' personnel to social engineering for fraud purposes. To solve these problems, our team has developed controls to eliminate these situations. Conducting a webinar on recognizing and counteracting social engineering methods. We recommend highlighting the following issues and tips during the webinar: verification sources, count decision-making, identify card of addressor, and plausibility check, and protect companies' devices from spam and malware. It is important to protect devices so that even in the case of successful attack, the social engineer cannot get too much information. So now I would like to give the floor to Darya.
Activity B. According to IDC, spending on public and private clouds in the market until 2025 will grow at a CAGR of 19%, thanks to the transition to the cloud. Many companies were able to relatively painlessly survive the lockdown of 2020, reducing IT costs, and even many cases quickly increasing the volume of survives the review. Next slide, please. Advantages of cloud-based solutions. All information is available from any device, reducing costs for maintaining the local data center, necessary tools for work, and provided automatically by the web service. A high level of manufacturability of computing power. Service are paid only as needed for the use. Modern cloud computing can provide the highest reliability. Disadvantages of cloud-based solutions. To work with the cloud requires a permanent connection to the internet. The user may not always be able to customize the software used for personal needs. To create your own cloud will require a very high cost. Cloud data storage, which using system and can be accessed by introduce. Strategic implication. Next slide, please. The slide shows a comparative table. In it, you can see approximate calculations. Based on it, we can conclude that the organization's cloud is more profitable than creating your own server. Total for the first year and total for months. Yeah. And thanks to the cloud, the organization will be able to get the necessary capacity immediately and start using the cloud in the first months. Despite the challenges and disruption to the usual order of things, the cloud as ultimately seen as a positive development trend. For better protection and security of cloud storage, organization during the next period of use will have to control the connection and disconnection process to control employee access and how and when they use external applications. A low degree of integration of and compatibility of own system and systems of third-party service providers, and price for the cost of service of service to do not send still and constantly changing as a result of which it is likely that the organization will have different costs every month, and it's not possible to calculate the exact cost. There may be problems with the currency and legalization in connection with the transfer of data abroad. Next slide. Next slide.
Next slide, please. The main problems associated with assessing the suitability of a business opportunity and ways to solve them are identified. Ignorance of the laws of the country. It's recommended to involve lawyers from the explanate to consult on all laws and assess the impact on the activities of runabout. The influence of climate and terrain on the service life of hoverboards is not studied. It's recommended to open an office on the Esplanade to carry out test trips, analyze all the weak points and focus the service life. The reasons for the influx on young tourists to the country are unclear. It's recommended to request access to the forecast for the Minister of Tourism, analyze all the factors on which they are based and draw a conclusion about the approximate number of customers. Expansion opportunities abroad have been identified. A significant expansion of the customer base and an increase in the company revenue. Increasing the awareness of the company and brand around the world. This will make it possible to more easily enter other foreign markets, as well as in the future to create your own franchise and successfully sell it. Improving the reliability of hoverboards in coastal cities and uneven terrain by signing contract with Minerin to jointly improve the design of hoverboards. Reducing dependence on the national market of Giland, which contributes to increasing the sustainability of business as a whole. Saving of the wage fund in terms of wages of workers hired from the local population. The business risks of expansion abroad have been identified. Tourists' ignorance of the rules of safe riding on hoverboards, an increase in injuries and insurance payments. Hoverboards rides on uneven terrain, humid air, salt water, and beach sand are likely to increase breakdowns. The possible presence of specific taxes and fees. The possible existence of any laws prohibiting or restricting the company's activities. The opportunity to enter the foreign markets should be released last of all. Since the assessment of this activity and the solution of potential problems are possible only for a long time. In general, the opportunities that the company will receive during the implementation of the event will not only compensate for business risks, but also give competitive advantages in the long term. Anastasia.
Activity D. Next slide. When studied the activity D, we identified the following main structural problems that runabout will face in Velocity. It is necessary to organize docks in areas that can cause significant demand, negotiate with a hoverboard supplier about flexibility during the first year, ensure a sufficient number of hoverboards at points, get permission from the city authority for our ones, agree then traffic may be difficult during rush hour. Residents and visitors with disabilities can express their dissatisfaction. Next slide, please. Strategic consequences. The opportunity to generate revenue from new customs in our cities located within 13 miles of Velocity is missed. Competitor can take advantage of the experience of runabout in Velocity and successfully start development in nearby cities where runabout will not have access. Runabout can get the following benefits. The absence of competitor in the speed market, 100% revenue stream from the activities carried out, since there will be no other vehicle in the city center. However, it should be borne in mind that in relation to the population of the country, Velocity is far from the largest city in the country. A million is a bit relative to a billion, and refusing to work in our nearby cities can be sufficient loss for the company. The annual profit from this project will amount to $1.4 million USA dollars, based on the calculation that 100,000 people will use our services every day. The revenue from this project is 1.5% of our total revenue. It's possible that by working with other cities, Runabout will receive great benefits and retain a strategic advantage. The company will be able to develop in any city and will not be heavily dependent on the authorities of the city. Next slide.
So, several ideas have been developed to improve Runabout's performance and profitability. On the slide, we show them in relation to how long it will take to implement the idea and how effective it is, what is how profitable. For implementation is proposed one that can be released in the short term and will quickly increase profits. Runabout should contract with several tour companies to run their tours on hoverboards. So this action is aimed at increasing the average journey time. So we estimate that 1 minute increase in average journey time, ceteris paribus, increases operating income by 10.6%, as well as increase the company's performance by 3.4%. So also Runabout should pay attention to the structure of the organization and its departments, and possibly optimize the functional responsibilities and number of people assigned to a number of employees. So as a rule, optimization leads to an increase in the company's performance. With this, we would like to conclude the answer of the case, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. So I would like to turn over the floor to our jury members. Please, you are highly welcome to ask questions.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I have one question. Please open table number 1, cost. Slide number 3 or 6. No. Table number 1. Yes. Yes, please. And my questions. I think you don't write when you calculated total for 1 month local server cost. I think you need to select 2 blocks: cost of investment and cost of and current costs. And what do you think about it?
All information was taken from IT sites, and we will be able to start working in the cloud in the first months. And in order to start operating its own clouds in the first months, the organization will have to spend a large amount of money, since the server will not be able to earn without certain parts.
Okay, thank you.
So can I ask the next question? Or so, and if we stay in this slide, so actually I have 2 questions. The first one about the same slide. So we see that we need some kind of investment in our business, but as you understand, the owner of business and let's say, and you also would like that profitability should be grow. And my question is, where you would like to find the source of this investment to implement this decision? Or maybe you would like to find the saving in the other part of your company for reinvest this amount for implement your decision? because of my question, so let me clarify a little bit more. So this investment not related to new customer and not related to new profit related to the sales. So it's not will bring us any profit like a customer marketing activity in anywhere. So it is the reason why I ask you where you would like to fund this investment and invest it to the projects that will not bring the additional profit.
Dear team,
we have no answer for those questions.
So, okay. So, and no question, it's also questions. Thank you, team. And the second, my question was about the connection with the tour companies. So I really like this idea that you found some kind of company and will collaborate together. And one more question, why decision of your team to found already exist company, and why you will not try to develop something new based on your organization? So maybe it's specific travel tour from the your organization that will cover the specific area of city or specific time, then the transport will more available than in other schedule. So why it should be the current organizations provide the tour, not the something new in your organization?
Because it will quickly increase profit in short term. But if we want to found in something new in our company, it's take more time. So we can implement, but it's take more time to increase profits.
So, okay, thank you for your answer.
Excuse me, do we have enough time for additional question?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you very much for your speech, for your presentation. I have a question regarding situation C, about exotic islands or famous touristic places. As well as I understood, the major, maybe the target audience is quite old or mature people in question C. And I think that young generation is more open to innovation and innovative transport vehicles. What do you think about, maybe, do you see any problem, maybe more older audience are not so interested in special features or technologies related to new transportation ways? And if you see such problems, please recommend how to overcome these problems. Is my question understandable essence of the question? You can return to section C slides. So yeah, the custom base from this situation, from this question, is old tourists. And so my question, do you see any problem related with the age
of your customer base?
Yeah, we see a problem in it.
What problems do you see?
Some people don't understand, some people in age, it's hard to use new technologies. Because of it, we want to make a survey about how old people should interact with hoverboards and demographic problems in this area.
Okay, and for example, if you understand that older people have some fears, maybe regarding new transportation vehicles, please recommend how to overcome these fears.
I can't recommend something to overcome this problem. I recommend not implement this activity in this case.
Maybe simplify your software or simplify your transportation vehicle. I don't know if it's possible.
Ilya, if you're saying anything, we can't hear you right now.
I say nothing.
Okay. Do you mind if I move on to the next question?
Yes, of course.
So regarding activity D, you dismissed it as one that you don't want to pursue. One problem with it being the 30-mile radius exclusivity for mobility, so for providing mobility services to other cities. Considering the velocity has population of 1.2 million, how many customers would you expect to lose access to should you choose to run this activity? How many customers would you expect to have in that 30-mile radius? And how many customers would you expect to have inside VeloCity?
We expect about 30% of population in the city, and because of it is city center, it is more people in this area in a day. So it's about 30% of population, maybe.
Okay, so that sounds like about 360 million people added to your customer base, which you have exclusive access to. Would you expect other large cities to be situated in a 30-mile radius from a 1.2 million city? Maybe drawing analogies to similarly sized countries.
I can't answer for this question.
Okay, thank you very much.
The team members are encouraged to participate in questioning, in answering.
Dear participants of Business 5, other except of Ilya, Could you please answer the questions? Maybe you have some ideas. Or if no, just say you don't. Obviously, they don't. So thank you so much. Actually, we have 2 minutes more, but I think that our team did everything they could. So thank you so much, dear Jory, for your questions, and thank you so much, our team. You did a great job. So now I invite our next team, Born to Count from Southern Federal University. Dear team, are you with us? Yes, okay. I see you. So please, could you please share your presentation on the screen? And I'm sorry if you hear all these sounds. Okay. On full screen, if you please.
Она просит вон тот экран, полный экран. Ну, вот так кнопка.
Yes. Okay, if there is any problems, so just leave it. It's okay, we can see your presentation. So, dear Jory, are we ready to hear our team?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, dear Born to Count, if you are ready, please welcome. You have 15 minutes, and before 1 minute left, I will let you know.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear Jory and colleagues. We are team Born to Count, and we want to present our solution. We present our vision of prioritizing project implementation from A to D. The first place A, the second place D, the third place B, don't implement C.
Let's consider activity A, updating cybersecurity threats and internal controls. This activity should be taken first and foremost, as it's about the safety of our customers. If we don't take actions, we will face the following risks: reputational risk, distrust of customer and the decrease in demand caused by it, legal consequence, falling share prices, and rising insurance costs. Next. Social engineering is a way to trick someone into revealing information or providing access to data networks. In this regard, the best solution would be to tell the staff about this type of attack, what form it takes, how to recognize it, and protect yourself. At the same time, it's important to explain to employees why this is necessary. Management should publicly announce cybersecurity goals and make it clear to employees that the achievement of these goals will contribute to the achievement of the company's overall business goals. The first month's staff training program for protection against social engineering methods will include a public presentation by management, holding lectures on the main types of social engineering and ways to protect against them, introducing of general cybersecurity rules, you can see them on the slide, and testing employees for understanding the theory. Next. During the next 11 months, practical checks are to be carried out. It's also necessary to summarize the result of each month in order to increase motivation, encourage those employees who were attentive and observed all rules of conduct. And those employees who didn't cope with any test must be informed about this and conduct a survey in order to identify the reason for this. And it's also necessary to analyze the statistics of cybersecurity indicators. Next. In addition, CIMA has developed a free cybersecurity reporting system that recommends the development of a comprehensive cyber threat protection program that includes actions aimed at protection, detection, and response. The cyber threat defense plan will include providing strong data protection, ensuring constant monitoring. In case of detection of a possible cyber attack, this issue is promptly resolved by the incident response team. And in the event that a cyber attack occurs and the negative impact follow, there should be a response team to minimize the consequence for the company. On the slide, you can also see the approximate cost of the necessary activities in accordance with the plan. It must be said that according to statistics, an average data breach costs $4 million for companies. Accordingly, security costs in the range of $400,000 are a small price to pay for security. Next.
Next activity is the server update using external cloud-based solutions. So our team decided that this activity should be implemented as the third priority, as it will effectively reduce the load in the process. On this slide, you can see key risks that Runabout might face in case not implementing such activity. First of all, slow operation of information processing and storage system in case of technical failure. Secondly, the possibility of sensitive data loss. And thirdly, Runabout data center lifespan decrease. Of course, there are some more risks connected with implementing such activity into working process of Runabout company. The main one is that the personal data of our customers can fall into the hands of the third company or even to some fraudsters. But we can exclude such risk by approaching this matter seriously and thoughtfully. Next slide. To organize all this process correctly, we should find a potential service provider that must meet the following requirements: safe, reliable, and solid reputation. What does this mean? Our potential service provider must have a certification by the Uptime Institute, so-called tier certification of the first, second, third, and fourth levels. Then next, access control system and video surveillance. Also gas fire extinguishing system, and it's important to mention that a consistent and high quality backup process is really important to us because it influences our working process directly. Then we must see the reputation of the company, its presence on the market, and also price per year and per month. Next. So the next step that our team has taken, calculated the average price per year and per month for this service. We decided to calculate prices of the most popular companies in the US. Why? The reason is that about 44% of powerful cloud and other data centers are in the US. According to the report of the Synergy Research Group. As it was mentioned that many powerful and reliable data centers located there, we took a couple of companies that was suitable with the earlier requirements. Such companies presented on the slide. Such companies as Equinix, Cyxtera, and Switch. In this table, you can see the annual revenue in dollars and the number of customers. All these indicators were taken from the official reports of these companies. And according to them, we've calculated the average price per year and per month. Please pay attention to the upper right corner of the slide in order to see how all these figures were calculated. Total prices are also presented on the slide. So the total price for month, approximately $45,000, and the average cost of the service per year, $500,000. Next.
Now let's look at activity C, and we have decided that this is the most disadvantageous activity for Runabout. To prove this, we made our SWOT analysis. This project has some strengths, and you can see these strengths on this slide. However, these strengths give us the following opportunities. Runabout can conquer the entire market of those who want to use hoverboards, set a monopoly price, and get an international reputation for the company. Unfortunately, this project has a lot of weaknesses, which you can see on this slide too. And the threats of this project are more than opportunities. Threats include rising insurance costs. However, will not attract the younger population. Runabout can have difficulties with the local laws, and Runabout needs risky, expensive investments which may not meet our expectations. Its outflow of elder tourists and falling stock prices of Runabout. Next slide, please. Thus, we came to the conclusion that it's better for Runabout to abandon this project because it's the most risky and profitable one. Hoverboards are not suitable for the elderly. Of course, there are special scooters for the elderly, but they are expensive and the specific of their use are very narrow. On the slide, you could see the difference in payback between a hoverboard and a scooter for the elderly. Next slide, please. To prove our conclusions, we conducted 2 sociological surveys: active consumers of the result, the elderly, and potential consumers, the younger generation. The vast majority of pensioners have never used this vehicle. This suggests that they don't have the skill to ride them. There is a high probability of injury when using a hoverboard for the first time, especially given an inevitable loss of coordination in people of retirement age. Based on the following diagram, we can conclude that pensioners are looking for resorts with like-minded people. The vast majority don't want to relax on an equal basis with young people, and we have to put up with this decision. And finally, after a direct question about the hoverboard, only 10% of those surveyed are ready to try this means of transport. The majority considers them dangerous. Next, please. To confirm our position that hoverboards are not insensitive to visit the resort, we conducted another sociological survey among young people. These were students, workers of various fields up to 45 years old. Our respondents gave a negative reaction to stay in a place that is adapted for the elderly. And the results of the last chart dispel any doubts about the failure on these events. Hoverboards are not driving force for the choosing a resort. Thus, given the abundance of constraining factors, we wouldn't recommend the company to develop this area. It is possible to consider tourist cities, but these should be areas with an abundance of young people for whom hoverboarding isn't new. Increased tariffs are needed for resort areas due to increased risk. First, a higher proportion of alcohol consumption. Next, a relaxed state with reduced reaction, a large number of children. And increased monitoring of the condition of drivers in the tourist area is needed. It can be a small computational or logical test for eliminate the influence of foreign substances, or additional argument on liability for damage caused in the hoverboard, municipal property, or other people, or maybe drivers. Next.
Let's move on to the key issues. Are the first vulnerability of the company to competitors. However, Zealand is a large country with approximate area of 3 million square kilometers. Therefore, the company doesn't pose its position in the market. The second, reducing the number of service recipients. The company is reducing the number of customers under the terms of the contract, but increasing the volume of services and productivity as the only provider of micromobility. The third, prohibit the use of runabout drugs. Two solutions. On the other hand, mechanics will move around the pedestrian zone using cargo electric cars. On the other hand, permission by the city administration to move once during calm hours. The first, offering a service with a long payback period, electric bikes won't be popular, reason I presented on the slide. And the payback period is 4 years. And the fifth, lack of necessary resources. Firstly, human resources are needed. For example, 6 mechanics working in shifts. Secondly, material resources such as electric trucks, additional hoverboards, and additional docking station. Next, consider the strategic implication of the agreement with Velocity. This slide shows all the results. I will highlight the key position. Firstly, the creation of more competitive environment will give impetus to the company to develop and create additional services. Secondly, the company will be able to expand its influence in the south, east, and west of Zealand. The company which gives it the advantage of being the only supplier, not only in Velocity. Thirdly, the company will be able to enter the international level so that foreign capital will be invested in it. Next, we turn to the issue of service termination. There are 3 methods. The first, agreement of both parties. The second, court decision. The third, the claim of one party if there have been significant changes in circumstances. In our case, the third option is suitable. However, our company took care of itself. Therefore, it created a reserve for future expenses in case of sanction and compensation. We also prepared financial statement for the year, taking into account all the activities that we are going to carry out. And firstly, the cash estimate. Based on it, we compiled a statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss, and then cash flow statement. Our total net income is almost $24 billion.
Let's consider a way to increase profitability. As an idea to increase profitability, we sign out for the following. Since the case condition contained information that hoverboards are used most actively only 4 hours a day, we decided to develop a loyalty system and introduce a discount on the use of hoverboard during those hours when they are used much less actively. We made calculations and determined the number.
1 minute.
During active and inactive hours at given price. We also calculated the maximum number of trips on one hoverboard per day that we want to achieve by applying the discount. We have calculated the maximum discount for trips during inactive hours, it's 10%. However, to receive additional profit, you must choose a smaller discount than the maximum. In this regard, the 7% discount was chosen for trips during non-active hours. Next slide. As a result of these changes, the net profit from one hoverboard per day will increase by $16. Also based on new revenue per day from one hoverboard and the estimated number of all hoverboards, we calculated new revenue, which is 22% more than last year's revenue.
Our team, and thank you for your attention.
Good, thank you so much. So our dear jury members, you are highly welcome to ask your questions. Please do not hesitate. Who will be the first?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, you are welcome, Svetlana.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation and for your speech. Was quite inspiring. I would like to return to the previous slide on profitability growth ways. You can return, and your main idea is to implement loyalty or discount systems, yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so please explain why do you think that demand for this way of transportation is price sensitive? So if you consider increasing demand by decreasing prices, I understood that you consider demand is price driving or price sensitive. So what are your assumptions in basement of this hypothesis?
Of course, any activity to increase profitability has its own risk. With this idea, the main risk is related to the fact that can be situation possible which the discount will not be as effective as they expected and will not attract the expected demand. In such situation, we will notice not an increase in revenue, but a slight decrease. However, such a situation is unlikely to since, in our opinion, the discount will stimulate sufficient demand, and due to it, consumers are most likely to choose a hoverboard than a bicycle, for example, for time walks. So it's a risk, but it's have no high probability.
So you think that people how to say limit themselves in hoverboard usage because of price in special periods during the day?
Maybe if when we take a discount, then maybe it will affect on demand, and more people will want to try our hoverboards, not bicycles, for example, from another companies. Maybe it take place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Understood.
Thank you. Who will be next?
Maybe I can, yes, I can follow the question from Svetlana, because I have preliminarily the same question. And I just imagine myself on the consumer side, and if, for example, in the hours and the demand from your organization is low, does you compare the cost of one trip with the cost of, for example, price in the common transport, autobus, subway, etc. So if I, for example, would like to go from point A to point B, so why I should change my choose from subway to your offer? How it correlate to each other?
Can we have a couple of seconds just to discuss this question with the whole team, please?
Yes, of course.
Почему они выбрали?
Почему мы должны пересесть на транспортное средство? Потому что у нас есть ограничения, что мы хотим запретить. Во-первых, interactive, more interactive, да? Да. Во-первых, очень большие. Потому что проще с транспортным средством. Это прогулка, то есть daytime walks. Physical activity. Транспортное средство. Да, тоже можно. Там говорят, что период пробок. Можно еще. Во-первых, почему выбрать какой-то, опять же, про экологичность? Экологичность. Автобусы не такие экологичные. Кто-нибудь помогает, если не такая. Хочешь, я могу ответить? Давай. Все, готовы? Да, готовы. So our team is ready to answer. So the main reasons why, for example, you should choose our hoverboards rather than using public transport is that, first of all, this such means of transport is more interactive. Then secondly, we can say that there is one more advantage of using hoverboards is that you have way to home, for example, with walking. So while you're driving the hoverboard, you have an opportunity to even just to breathe in some fresh air rather than sitting in the public transport where everybody can maybe some kind of coughing or anything else. And thirdly, it is really, for a consumer, it's really important to save their time. So for example, when we're standing at the bus station, we should wait for, I don't know, maybe even for 10, 15 minutes in order just to take a bus. But when we have an opportunity to just take a hoverboard at the same time as we come to the bus station, that is like our time consuming time. So it's really much faster to get the hoverboard, even just wait for another bus. And the last but not the least fact that hoverboards is more ecologically friendly for us, even if we take some bus vehicles, because nowadays most of the buses are still on the petrol power, yeah, thank you. And there are not a lot of bus stations that use maybe electricity or some alternative resources for moving. So that is why hoverboards are, I think, the best way nowadays just to choose. And for a customer, it is like a great advantage.
So, thank you for your answer.
If I may follow up.
Of course.
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions on the cash flow model. If you could go back to that slide. First of all, think there was, I mean the kind of the larger table that you had for activity D. Makes sense.
Activity cash flow. Activity to cash flow. Can you please repeat the question because I can't hear you properly?
Yeah, so on this slide, first of all, you talk about overdraft at the beginning and end of period. My understanding is you mean cash and cash equivalents, right? Because here it seems to, your activity seems to lead to an increase in overdraft, which does the overdraft debt increase, or is this increase of cash and cash equivalents? Is what I'm asking.
Can we have a couple of seconds also just to discuss this question with our team?
Sure.
Что он говорит, у нас есть овердрафт, мы его используем, и он говорит так, что это как очередное обязательство. Какие? Я не понимаю сейчас. Пока еще смотреть, показываю смерть, это нет, потому что мы почему сумму. Не знаю, что такое. Есть там такое. Что если мы отвечу, я так что говорим? As we understood your question correctly, so we use overdraft in order just to improve our business situation, and for the future plans, we are assuming that this overdraft will be paid back a little bit later, but it's really it would really helps our company to implement all the activities that were announced earlier. That is why I think overdraft is more suitable way of doing this like business. So if I really correctly understand your question, I hope we answered on this.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. And I had another one regarding just the assumptions on this model. From what I see, the first row, volume of sales, stays very consistent throughout the year. What would you say the key factors would be that will change that throughout the year when implementing activity D? So how would you expect it to vary for a new city center kind of isolated area?
Okay, we'll also take like a couple of really seconds just to form our answer.
Это в первую очередь сезонность. Как сезонность переводится?
Из-за этого мы не можем сделать такой сезонность, потому что мы не знаем, как это типа, там зимой, что вообще будет.
Но мы предполагаем, что зимой, возможно, снизится спрос.
Ну, если он будет ближе к индикатору, мы просто берем средний, да, тогда получается средний продаж. Да.
Просто линейно распределяем нашу годовую выручку.
Я думаю, да.
Что-то еще. 2-3 секунды, кроме своего. Демографическая группа. Демография. Мода, как обычно, праздничность еще, наплыв туристов, праздники, наплыв туристов.
Okay, we suppose that the reason why we have the same volume of the sales is that we can't really know for sure what kind of does our country, I mean, Zealand has some season factor. So judging by this, we take like the average volume of the prices, because of course we can assume that maybe in the winter this amount or the volume can decrease due to some climate change, like winter, snowing, and etc. Secondly, we would say that it also can influence some demographic question. I mean, how many elderly people in the whole in the whole country there are, or how many young people here. So it's also will influence. And also one of the key factors is the trend. But on this side, you can see like the average volume of the sales due to we don't know for sure if we should like put all these key factors and how this would really go into the figures.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I step in?
Yes, of course.
Hi, everyone. I have just one question about your ranking. As far as I see, you have put the ranking in the following order: A, D, B, and not implementing C. So in general, what were the assumptions or criteria for this ranking? What are the major or main criteria in putting exactly this ranking and not something different?
Can you please
the order of the project's implementation, I mean. Can you hear me?
Why don't we implement the activity C? Because no, really, we didn't.
No.
Can you just broaden it?
I mean, your ranking or order of implementation is A, D,
so
D at the third place. Yes. Of the projects implemented.
Yes.
So what were the assumptions or criteria for the following order?
Can we take a couple of seconds just to discuss it with the team?
Sure.
Почему что еще почему выбираем первый?
Потому что речь о безопасности наших потребителей.
Чтобы что-то еще ответить, потому что мы также говорим про безопасность. Это
потом второе. Расширяем.
Да, мы говорим о том, что сначала почему мы говорим, потому что это мы говорим в принципе о внутри компании. Второе, мы говорим про что?
Расширение,
потому что настоящая задача после безопасности компании расширять свои возможности.
Да.
Третье, почему мы говорим? Потому что мы также, когда мы выходим на большой рынок, нам нужно
необходимо развивать свое программное обеспечение.
И, в принципе, иметь большую базу данных, где мы можем говорить DC.
A lot of French could be dangerous.
Кто смотрит?
Оля,
Хочешь
расширение, как сказать?
Давай ты начнешь первый два, а я первый.
Хорошо, окей.
So our team is ready to answer, so I'd like Ola to start.
We have showed you our rating. First, from these activities will be activity A, because it's about the safety of our customers. And we need to achieve these cybersecurity goals because of this achievement. Depends on of company's overall business goals. The second activity is activity D, because for our company, so important to grow the market, and this city is very interesting decision for us because it's have no cars, and our company will very competitive of this decision.
Then we put the activity B on the third position, because when we come to the new market, of course, we will get maybe a little bit a lot of customers, potential customers, and that is why we are interested in making our working process more safely. That is why we put activity beyond third. So we care about our customers' personal data. We care about our inner system of storing and getting information from our customers. So that is why we put it on a third. And the last C, I would like another order to consider.
And why we wouldn't use activity C? Because in Esplanade we have a lot of pensioners, and it's not our additional consumers. And about buy a special hoverboard for pensioners, the cost very high, and we think that it don't necessary to buy it. I suppose.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, team. Thank you, jury. So we are moving to the next team. Next team is Golden Chance from Higher School of Economics. So guys, you may share your presentation. So yes, I remind you, I'm sorry, that you have 15 minutes. And before 1 minute left, I will let you know. So if our jury members are ready and our team ready, you may start.
We are ready.
Okay, good.
Can we start?
Yes, of course.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Today's Golden Chance team will present their solution to the management of runabout. Next slide, please. In the beginning, we would like to provide a brief overview of the company's business model. The company works closely with government authorities. A significant part of cost is electricity. In our study, we did not evaluate financial calculations since we live in a frictional country. We don't have an exchange rate with real currencies, so further evaluation is not possible. We made a focus on key factors. Now let's move on to strategic initiatives. Next slide.
Okay, well, first of all, we would like to draw your attention to recent events related to data breaches. The global problem is associated with runabouts resistance to cyber attacks and social engineering manipulations. Let me briefly remind you of what have happened. An enterprising hacker was able to gain access to the hoverboard control system with the employees' help and write a code to allow anyone to remove speed limits. As a result, the number of accidents increased, active insurance compensation was required, and the price of shares decreased under the influence of worried investors. We see three potential holes in the system that allowed the hacker to successfully complete his plan. All of them entail negative consequences, but the second one is especially critical. Employees are not ready to resist the tricks of scammers. Today, this is an isolated case, but in the future, the number of incidents is likely to go up. Please pay close attention to the catastrophic consequences that can be triggered by ignoring the security system. Among them are a ban on hoverboards, rising insurance premium claims, customer outflow, and ultimately a long-term decline in the stock price. Moving forward, it is simply impossible not to note the diversity inherent in social engineering. Among the most common schemes, at least half are associated with phishing, trick forcing owners of information to share it against their will. Employees do not always fall for the bait, but the danger lies in the number of attacks and the ingenuity of attackers. A practical scheme of actions aimed at preparing employees for a new threat will help to prevent an undesirable future. The first step is to strengthen the position and make sure that none of the stakeholders plans to penalize us for what happened. After that, we should focus the staff on the fact that preventing data leakage is the task for everyone without exception. While this will be a high priority for internal audit, every employee should be on the lookout for mail, calls, and so on. To help colleagues better navigate the topic, a system of corporate-wide trainings with the requirement to pass mandatory tests should be immediately developed. Our recommendation also calls for gamification to eradicate the uneasy feeling of being on this task. Training should be in a light game form, maybe including some team cases and a system of internal corporate awards. After the mentioned steps, which are planned to be implemented within 1 month, the efficiency should be measured during the year with the help of penetration tests. Testing and feedbacks from employees will help identify gaps and build the system in the best way.
Furthermore, IT director wants to introduce a predictive feature into the software, but it requires more power. In addition, the backup system has almost reached its limits. It was proposed to move to cloud solutions. Next slide. Let's first discuss the key issues that cloud migration can solve. During the periods of spikes in demand, it's difficult to determine the number of hoverboards in docks, and it's also necessary to increase the capacity of the backup system. However, cloud solutions will allow the company not only to increase the capabilities of data storage, but also to introduce tools such as artificial intelligence and machine learning into the software. The second reason to move to the cloud is to improve data security. Most major cloud providers have strong security protocols. Also, the company does not need to spend large resources on IT infrastructure to ensure data security. And equally important reason for moving to the cloud is the almost limitless scalability. Cloud providers update their data centers frequently, which are already included in the subscription. Next slide, please. A private cloud will minimize the network and interface issues. Public cloud will maximize scalability. However, the choice of these models is often dictated by the internal infrastructure of the company. A hybrid cloud is the optimal solution. It will allow you to combine the capabilities of a public cloud with the ability to comply with more stringent security requirements in a private infrastructure. Thanks to the features of a hybrid cloud, a company will be able to minimize the risks of working with clouds, as well as increase the data security. And most importantly, this is probably the only one solution that will be approved by key stakeholders. Next slide, please. This slide presents the possible risks of cloud migration. Special attention should be paid to political risks in the long run. However, cooperation with a foreign provider was proposed, which also carries additional risks for cloud migration. Next slide, please. Special attention should be paid to currency risks, which are difficult to mitigate at the expense of internal resources and by hedging mechanism. Next slide, please. As a result, the optimal solution for the company is a smooth transition to a hybrid cloud with a local cloud provider. Otherwise, additional risks need to be assessed. There are other ways to improve capacity, but they are not rational for the company. A detailed analysis of public cloud models, as well as checklists for migrating to the cloud, is given in the appendixes. This concludes the discussion of cloud technologies, and I would like to give the floor to Svetlana. Next slide.
Let's continue with expanding overseas to Esplanade Island. Next slide, please. Here you can see main aspects which Runabout should focus on to assess and mitigate risks that are faced while expanding to another country. The next slide, please. Starting with the strategy, Runabout needs a full market research of the Esplanade Island to assess the possible demand of young people on the island for our services. Runabout must be aware of other investors that are interested in attracting youth to the island. And for us not to be the only one investor who is interested in this, because older people are not interested in our services and prefer more calm vacations. Then our company should persuade government that expansion will guarantee such economical benefits like creating new working places, boosting tourism, developing infrastructure of the seafront, and we are a massive taxpayer. So there will be an assistance from the government side. And finally, the most important issue is the COVID-19 pandemic. On the graph, you can see world's new cases of COVID-19. So it's very likely that the borders are going to be closed soon and restrictions will be introduced. It means that there will be a tourism crisis. So considering the fact that our main users of the island are tourists, we state that this year is not appropriate to expand overseas, but we still have a strategy how to do it. The next slide, please. Let's move to the difficulties that Runabout may face on the island. Off-road seaside service may damage hoverboards, but we have a solution to overcome that risk. Instead of having electric motors inside the wheels, the motors are going to be located inside the main body of the hoverboard. This drives the costs down, protects them from sand and water, and allows more powerful motors. Then we can face the problem with the internet connection on the seaside. So Runabout should undertake responsibility for Wi-Fi connection near the dock stations so users can rent them easily. And finally, financial team of Runabout should evaluate all the costs that are required for expanding, like capex, wages, docks installations, opening new office, and so on. The next slide, please. Moving to the B2B segment, we offer corporate tariffs for hotels and resorts on the Esplanade Island for the staff to use for easier movements around the workspace. You may have seen waiters on the rollers serving drinks on the long seaside, but now they will use hoverboards. Or other staff that will have to move over the huge hotel area will reduce their time using our service. Hoverboards are much better than golf carts that are generally used in hotels, as they are less expensive, they can fit inside a building, and also they're eco-friendly as they are not run by petrol. And finally, the next slide, please. For the B2C segment, we offer collaboration with hotels. So they register their guests in Runabout system right away. Guests are going to be informed about our services and will not have to waste time on registrations. And payment will be included in the hotel bill when they leave. So our analysis reveals that expanding overseas carries a lot of risk on one hand and profitable benefits on the other hand. Now we cannot start expansion due to the pandemic restrictions, but our developed strategy can be used after the end of the pandemic with the new market research at that time. Thank you. Next slide.
And the last agenda for today is cooperation with Velocity. Next slide, please. It offered us to become the only provider in the new city center cleared of transport. In return, we must agree not to deal with any form of services to nearby towns or cities within 30 miles. Next one. We have considered the problems we will face and what this cooperation can lead to. The fact that Runabout will be the only company providing transport in a city may be associated with huge reputational risks that the company will incur in case of failure. That will lead to the decrease in price, which will reflect in the rise of the cost of equity. So any future equity finance project will have to deliver a high return. Thus, we must be confident that we can provide a sufficient number of hoverboards and docks and make sure that our supplier will be able to provide the required quantity on time. Moreover, Runabout mechanics must assemble and move hoverboards by using vans during the day, independent on the capacity of the docks. And since Velocity plans to create an exclusively pedestrian city center, there may be problems with the logistics of hoverboards and ensuring their proper number in the right docks. Finally, there may be problems with insurance. The risk of the project may lead to the increased insurance payments. Next one. Another point is about limiting our presence within a 30-mile radius. We also see many serious issues for discussion here. If everything goes well, then neighboring cities will want to repeat the success of Velocity, but they will have to look for another company. So we ourselves will create an ideal environment for our competitors, and at some point we will cease to be the only one providing services in the market of micromobile transport. What is more, competitors will have an example of a successful scheme, and it will be easier for them to reproduce it. Moreover, in this agreement, we bear much greater risks than Velocity. After all, if something goes wrong, the whole blow will fall on us. As for Velocity, the authorities will attract another company and, for example, use only electric bicycles in the town center. Oppositely, if cooperation is successful, again, we bear all the costs and lose the opportunity to expand nearby. Furthermore, the profit from successful cooperation can be insufficient, or the net income can be even negative. Wherever we look, we keep hitting roadblocks, but the idea itself is very promising, so there are several ways to break the wall. Next one. Our logic leads us to decline cooperation without some changes in pre-agreed points. Firstly, Velocity government allows us to use vans to move hoverboards. Secondly, is to keep confidentiality of information about the details of the project. No matter whether it will be successful or not, no private details should be widespread publicly. Finally, it would be a perfect achievement if Velocity removes the clause about the restriction of our presence in nearby towns. Another golden opportunity is the demand study in neighboring cities to see possible growth points, and then perhaps use this information to negotiate with Velocity. The main thing for now is not to rush to make a decision. Next one. we have developed new ideas which Runabout can implement to improve the performance of the company and increase its profitability. First one is captive insurance. This option will allow us to avoid an increase in insurance payments while undertaking strategic decisions. Also, captive insurer will have a greater control over claims, will receive additional cash flow, and finally, it can help us to manage costs.
The next idea is opening a hub. With this innovation, employees will be able to send their ideas how to improve Runabout to the top management for consideration. They could be undertaken with financing from the company. This allows to identify talented employees and promote their development within the company. Then the merge of the Runabout. Users will get the chance to win our merge according to their achievements in our system. Gamification will motivate people to use our hoverboards more. And moreover, the merge is also a type of a commercial.
1 minute.
Next slide, yes?
Yes.
Well, to conclude, let's sum up our investment recommendations. Our number one priority is to increase the security of Runabout data. In addition, moving to the cloud and accepting new ideas will not only help to control operating costs and improve Runabout's perception, but also clear the way for future global projects. The most promising one is the expansion of Runabout in D-Land, but it requires working out new conditions with velocity or attracting their competitors. That's all from us. Thank you for your attention. You may find some extra information in the appendices. Now, please feel free to ask us any questions.
Thank you so much, team. So I give the floor to our jury. Please do not hesitate to ask questions. Who will be the first?
So I can start if nobody don't like this idea. Could you please back to slide with your suggestion about B2B business, where you describe how you would like to? Yes, I think this one is okay. So my question about the maybe not about the financial more, but about the surplus where we appear the Runabot, because of now your company operate in the city where the road is flat, so it is okay for Runabot to drive by the road flat, but now you explain that you would like to organize the B2B segment with, for example, cafe, hotels, etc., but this area could have some kind of hills and some kind of difficulties on the road. So why do you think that Runabot will be better than current hotels and cafe decision? It is the first question. And the second question about financial, how many investment do you need for implement this project? And how year of payback you expect from this activity?
Okay, first of all, about the ground and the surface on the island, I suggested the hoverboards usage in the hotels because there is a flat area there. So we have some pool areas where there is a normal floor where hoverboards can be used easily without any problems. And the staff is going to serve drinks or something, some dishes around the hotel with no problems, no sand, and no restrictions. And why the hoverboards are better, here you can see 4 reasons. They are less expensive. Then Runabout will take care about all the repairments if they're needed. And you can use them even inside the hotels, in the buildings. So I think hoverboards are a great idea to improve quality of the service for the hotels and resorts. But about the investment, we have already mentioned in the beginning that we haven't made any calculations, as we have no costs or no prices for the Esplanade Island and other mentioned locations, as it's not real country, and we cannot calculate the course of the GLAN dollar to our real dollars. So we haven't made any calculations.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I would like to make some additions to my colleague Svetlana. And maybe we can have a more fair answer if we say it depends. So our payback period will be very dependent on how long the COVID-19 pandemic will last. So it is quite unpredictable now, and this is one of the factors why we are not ready to invest into this idea now. And also our expansion, if we would like to go on with it, it would be more like step by step, because for now we do not have all infrastructure we needed, like data centers is a very good investment to expand abroad, and also maybe some sorts of captive insurance, because there will be some problems with insurer. And so if this expansion would have place right now, it would be step by step with dealing with hotels. And as a rule, some hotels, they have these facilities that like flat roads and something like that, and they can predict that you can use this technology. And well, in this case, maybe in this case, maybe some additions, guys.
Yes, furthermore, I want to say that, so why do we should offer hoverboards to hotel staff? We know that our provider of hoverboards is Minering, which operates in Zealand, and it has a great experience of hoverboards designed exclusively for use in factories and hotels as personal transportation for security staff and supervisors. It becomes more comfortable. What? There is one additional reason for accepting this.
Okay, thank you. Alina, is it the answer?
Yeah, thank you so much.
So you accept it. Okay, thank you. Georgi, please, you're welcome.
Yeah, if I could follow up on this same slide, considering that the cost of hoverboards, individual hoverboards and docks isn't that high, how would you persuade hotels and hotel chains to use your services here as opposed to just buying hoverboards in bulk at similar prices to yours and maintaining them themselves?
It's easy. It's going to be more easy for hotels to just rent hoverboards at very low corporate tariffs, as all the costs for the service, for the charging the hoverboards and servicing the dock stations in the hotels are going to be Runabout's responsibility. So we are going to make service for all the docks on the island and including the docks in the hotels. So we won't have any more additional costs to serve some 10 or 15 hotels in addition to other dock stations on the island, but we will have a great increase in our income by this hotel corporate tariffs. So they won't have to do anything to charge to repair them in case of the some damage, but they will use them right away. So this will be very easy for them.
So if I understood that correctly, you are actually not going to be competing with other mobility companies in B2B, but rather with service companies.
Yes, maybe. So we're going to install our own dock stations in the hotel that we have some contracts with. So we're going to serve them our hoverboards for their use for their staff.
Okay.
Yes, and I can add that I think that we will not have some level of competitor, because government authorities, city councils can look on the experience of the dealing where 15 cities gave us monopoly, and I think that it will not be some problems with possible competitors on this market.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yes, please. Can we come back to the cloud migration slides? There were some slides about risks associated with that.
There are two types of risk. Which one would you prefer? This is of implementing, and this is dealing with foreign provider.
Okay, I want you to describe some more mitigation plans that you have developed for especially foreign providers.
Okay.
So let me start. I think that the crucial risk of a foreign provider is the currency risk, and the only one reason of mitigating it is just to look at standard deviation between our currency and foreign currency. For example, if we find that the pair of our currencies has a low level of volatility, so we should implement this project, because we will not incur such amount of cost. Furthermore, we should look to historical dynamics of interest rates, and I think that a crucial factor we should look is a monetary policy of a central bank. For example, if a central bank in a foreign country is held currency targeting policy, this means that there will not be some fluctuations in the volatility of exchange rates, because purchasing power parity is have to complete it.
Okay.
Just a quick reminder, maybe the best mitigation will be still to research our domestic market. Maybe there are some same type of company in D-land, and then we will avoid the majority of these risks associated with foreign company.
Okay, then one more general question about your plans. So the other one, your risk response plans, if you implement, what type of strategic reputational risk you see in implementing this project?
In implementing cloud project, yes?
Exactly,
cloud
yes.
So we think that the main reputational risks is the risks from government authorities, because, for example, if we implement, if we will collaborate with a foreign provider, the government data security policy in our provider may not correspond with the government data personal security of a foreign provider, and it will lead to some negative conclusions. Furthermore, I can say that city councils might not be able to implement these projects, because implementation of cloud migration will lead to losses of IT specialist jobs. And we know that overall, if we compare IT administration costs to, for example, Dogbike, our competitor, we know that IT infrastructure costs are similar at the level of 15%. It means that, for example, very large amount of IT specialists are working in IT infrastructure, and if we will migrate to cloud with foreign provider, many of them will lose the jobs, and city councils might leave us without monopoly. I think that it's one of the crucial risks of implementing with the foreign provider.
Okay, the answer is clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any more questions? So we've done. Thank you so much, dear team. So we are moving to the next team. So next team is all exclusive from Bashkir State University. Please, team.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Could you please share your presentation?
So let's start.
No.
Oh.
Not now. So yes, now we see. Now we see your presentation. If our dear jury is ready. Yes, I see they're ready. 1 second, I'll be ready too. Yes. So dear team, you may start.
Okay, so once again, hello to everyone. My name is Emil. I'm the leader of the team All Exclusive. Most of us are ill, but Ruslan is here with me and Elena will be able to speak. And today we want to show you our view on the company Runabout and the given activities. So for the first, what do we know about Runabout? This company provides hoverboard rental services to 30 million users and has a strong market position. Moreover, company has significant governmental support and is the only company with license to use dock stations. Due to this fact, there is no direct competitor and position is better in comparison with substitutes. No helmet requirement that bicycles and dog bike has. Opposite to cars and public transport, there is no traffic jam and it is ecologically friendly. There is lesser chances of COVID-19 infection in comparison to crowds. For market capacity, there is 1 billion of population in Zealand. I would prefer to take off some people due to age, profession, rural areas, and their preferences, and add some because of tourism and recreational usage. So by the end, we will have 100 million potential users in Zealand, while the company has only 30% of them. On this slide, you can see the main financial indicators, and out of them, you can see that the company is effective in providing its services, but is highly dependent on its liabilities. Due to this, the return on equity is high, but also other risks of bankruptcy if something would go wrong. Cash flow is 25,000,000.88. Return on investment is 0.24, while the weighted average cost of capital is 0.16. Due to this, the economic value added is 0.08. And so for every dollar invested in this company, we will get additional 8%. As for cost of business, we will take cash flow for this year and discount 2 future cash flows with possible increase of 3% per year due to circumstances. We would get almost 69 million of $, but because of negative goodwill from a recent scandal, it would be only 55.8 million. So next part is activity A.
Because of an incident, company's share fell down to 20% and damaged the trust from clients. Due to this, our future growth in danger, and this activity needs to be first in priority. We need to change code of program since the previous version is publicly available. In order to prevent future incidents, the cybersecurity department needed to be created. It also was implemented an incident response platform for rapid response. Since the company decided to use cloud storage, it's also necessary to connect to the cloud security system. The company also needs to implement a system to prevent DLP data leakage to control the movement of files and their contents. Another point is to add cybersecurity training courses. Next slide. To change the attitude of employees to the cybersecurity, we are implementing the following steps. Taking cybersecurity courses, we will connect employees to a single system desk to work via VPN. Employees will have to work only one disk. It's forbidden to download, move, and copy files from the corporate disks. Also, all employees need to sign an agreement on taking courses in compliance with information and cybersecurity measures. Training attacks needed to be done. IT security specialists should work only through corporate computer using cryptography. Next slide. Why such measures are necessary? First of all, for the safety of the company, to prevent incidents and other leaks of corporate information, to restore the company's reputation and stop the stock failing. Of course, there are risks that after implementing all the steps on cybersecurity, the company's reputation will also not recover. So it is necessary to be open and allow the work done in the media. So what are the possible outcomes from the activity? After stabilization of the share price, company will avoid risks of changes within board of directors. Return on investment and EVA would decrease due to higher expenses, but in alternative variant situation would be much worse. If the goodwill of the company restores, the future growth will rise and the new possibilities will open. Without cybersecurity, share price will fall even deeper. Regular trial expenses would cost several millions every year and the potential growth would be much lower.
Okay, based on the information in the case, it can be noted that there is a shortage of IT specialists in Zealand. Diplomas are too theoretical and runabout, which provide services remotely, should have a well-built IT infrastructure. For example, a direct competitor, Dogbite, spends a large amount of money not only on finding competent IT specialists, but also on their training and maintenance of a large IT staff. And the total expenditure on IT is 14% of operating expenses. Moving to the cloud could reduce the cost of maintaining a large staff of IT specialists, electricity, purchasing, and updating equipment. On the next slide, you can see the main advantages of switching to cloud technologies. However, this will require stable and fast internet access. As a rule, the introduction of cloud technologies help to reduce costs and loss of net profit. Of existing case, this number is 18%. This activity would save 2.5% of administrative expenses and would help to save even more in new markets. Possible profit due to this will increase in 3%. Overall cash flow would be bigger. Moreover, increased security will increase goodwill and that would rise future growth. Both of factors affect value of a company positively.
So next part is expanding to overseas. So Esplanade is a large tropical island state, and due to this, we could assume 70 million of citizens. We'll cut some of them due to old age and their profession, because we don't think that fishermen and farmers would be interested in our services. 9 million because of car usage, because that country isn't such populated and car usage is easier. 4 million can't afford or prefer bikes, and if we add 4 million tourists, it would be 8 million at the end. However, company can't handle every part of the country, so possible outcome is 2 million users for the first year. So now we need to discuss organizational part. The terrain is different due to seaside and mountains. Because of this, company would need to use different model of hoverboards, and that will lead to minimal 15% of increase in cost of usage. Moreover, amount of people per dock station is lower, but if there would be only one station in a huge area, it would be useless and it would be useless for users. So this will lead to additional 20% in cost of services. Same factor would increase expenses for service team. Cloud services would save a little out of administrative expenses, but for marketing would be significant due to new markets. So you take 10% out of Zealand expenses for administration and 20% for marketing. So amount of risks, of possible risks is enormous. At first, infrastructure isn't good at all. Minister of Tourism thinks that when we start working within the country, the amount of tourists and investments would increase. But new way of mobility that is ineffective on the long distances won't do too much. Also, do we remember that happened with cybersecurity issue? Several cases of injury dropped share price for 20%, but due to cliffs, mountains, and hills, risk of injury and even death would rise significantly. So there is a possible danger for share price and for the company itself because of trials and insurance. Moreover, Situation would become even worse if cybersecurity threats won't be managed. So share price would rise after the news, but will fall after financial report and first incident. So as you can see, there is a mostly possible cash flow for 2 million users and increased expenses. There would be no net income and negative cash flow at the end. Even more, we haven't shown possible trial expenses and fees, so in reality, it would be much worse. So return on investments would be minus 7%. EVA would be negative 0.23. With possible trial expenses, everything could become even worse. High risks of share price drop and negative cash flow would lower the value of runabout. So activity D. Before we start, runabout, we need to remind you that runabout is almost monopolistic within the G-land, but has only 40 million of users. Due to that, it is better to fulfill the market within G-land and only after expand overseas. So there is a market capacity for Velocity. In Velocity lives about 1,000,000.2 people. And if we cut off depending on age, profession, preferences, and add to them because of carbon and tourism, we would get 630,000 of active users. Because of the area, runabout would be able to fill market fully. And it would be also positive for expenses. In comparison with other parts of G-land, there would be more users per one dock station and smaller distance between them. Due to that, cost of services will cut 10% out of its price. Close services and operation within G-land would save 25% from each additional marketing and administration expenses. So everything is perfect beside two issues in agreement that is needed to be dealt with. Runabout need to get permission in using its service once within the city. Without it, services might collapse. Also, company needs to provide services in nearby towns. Because out of it may grow the potential competitor, and the company just need to fulfill the market. Overcome both of these problems is easy. Without service once, Velocity may lose its only way of mobility during peak hours. So it is in their interest to provide stable work for our company. Moreover, without runabout, Velocity may be failed due to lack of ways in mobility. Positive image and goodwill would also be helpful, but for two sides agreement, we can provide 5% discount only for this city. So what is needed to be done? At first, we need to make an agreement, and it would take about a month. Next step is marketing campaign and organizational research of optimal spots. Then we would need an office and repair station. IT and servers won't be needed due to cloud services. After all, everything would start working after 3 months. So there are two possible risks. The risk of rejection is small, and the city council has no choice due to carbon issues with public transport and no other companies with governmental license. Oh, and I need to remind you that situation is a bit better for dog bike, but due to helmet requirement, they won't be as useful. In that case, we won't lose anything, but won't get positive cash flow. In case of Velocity project failure, we would get average town with ordinary return on sales and net income. So here is an additional cash flow with expenses cut that company would get out of Velocity. Return on sales is higher than average on G-land, so it would be useful. Next slide. Overall, for this project, return on investment would be 47%, and economical value added is 0.3. Moreover, even if it provides only 3% of additional revenue, it gives 6% of income and 4% of cash flow. So there you can see the priority. Activity A increases expenses but gives goodwill and future growth. Moreover, it stabilizes share price. Activity B lowers expenses slightly but provides additional growth. C is a high risk and low outcome activity with negative cash flow. D provides positive cash flow and have low risks. A, B, and C are positive for the value of the company.
1 minute.
So here is a timeline and budget. Activity A needed to be done first, or company would face that issue in new market. B is second, and C only after others are done. Company needs for 2 million for each A and B, and 4 million for C. Activity A would be done by reinvesting profit and loans. For B would be reorganized IT department, and D is full on loans due to low WACC. At the end, we would get this cash flow and slightly higher net income, and by that, company would be able to overcome previous issues with cybersecurity and become fully prepared for future growth. The value of the company we have found by the same way with future cash flows discounted for today's moment. With positive goodwill, it would be 77 million, and that would be almost 40 additional %. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Dear jury, do you have any questions?
Okay, I would like to start. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, team, for your presentation and speech. Please back to the slide with a summary of all 4 scenarios. Stop. This one. Okay, I have a question regarding activity A. So you wrote that this type of activity will increase administrative expenses significantly, and I understand to support security of the company. And by this way, we will obtain lower levels of ROE and EVA, but at the same time, you wrote that this fact will stabilize share price. So please explain connection or correlation or relationship between relative measures of success as return on investments and the share price. So I'm slightly confused by this difference that something will be getting worse, like return on investments, but at the same time, share price will be stabilized. So why?
Yes. Elena, do you want, or I can do it? Okay, so I have already got an answer. It will stabilize share price because, as we remember, due to cybersecurity breach, there were some series of incidents with injury, and due to that news, the share price have fallen down significantly. So in activity A, we have choose only 2 ways, or we add our cybersecurity and try to make better position of the company and the picture of it for our shareholders and our clients, or we do nothing and expense even higher trial expenses, and the view on us from our customers will become even worse. So we need to choose out of 2 ways, and we have chosen to choose activity A that will give us some new possibilities in future.
So as well as I understood, there is a certain misbalance between short-term spending right now for security maintenance and future benefits like consumer confidence, maybe going concern, and so on. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Understood.
Next question.
If you don't mind. On the slides about your cloud migration, you had a slide comparing pros and cons. All right. Okay. When you reach there, you put as a negative, I mean, possibility of hacking. Why do you say that this is additional risk for migrating to cloud services compared to in-house storage, data storage? So what is the logic behind new risk of hack?
Previously, cloud technologies was not so protected, but now cloud technologies is more protected than local services. Also, local services can be hacked from, yes, from social engineering, and this is the reason why I don't put possibility of hacking to the minus.
And another issue is that we will lose some of our control in terms of cybersecurity because our servers will be given to outsource.
This is clear now. One more question about your first project of cybersecurity threats and control measures. How do you think the company should address or ensure these controls are implemented and are existed on place?
Okay. I guess I know. We can make it, or we can implement this by using our cybersecurity department. It will increase our administrative expenses, but it will give us controls on the situation within the company.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, I have one question. Could you please back to slide with the financial data where you show the KPI of the business? It's the second or third slide. Yes, what this one. And one below where you explain your price and your equity. Next slide.
Okay.
Yes, this one. So it's, as far as I understand, is the last line that the cost of the business is 69, so let's say 70 million of money. So does it mean that you think that your business costs this money? Or what do you mean when you explain the cost of the business?
Yes, I think it costs that money, and we can find it by two ways. By future cash flow, so we will take cash flow for today, cash flow for the next year and for another year, and we can discount this for today's moment. And another way is to use, let me remember, to use inventories and cash and all of that. To use actives and liabilities, and by that way we can find cost of business in another way. But I have preferred to find it by future cash flow.
So okay, yeah. And one more tricky question. So if you imagine that I am an investor and now I would like to provide you 65 million of money for your business, does you agree with my proposal and you will solve the business for me or not? And could you please explain your decision?
Okay. I think in the position that the company has, due to circumstances, especially with due to cybersecurity breach, the real cost of the company will become lower because they have lost some of its possibilities. And because of that, I guess we can trade it for 65 million. Because of negative goodwill, I have cut 20% of it.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? No.
I think if we can go back to the activity C, market capacity analysis.
Yes, of course. Okay.
Would you be able to just explain to me how you got these numbers on the right? Did you use certain comparables? Did you have some surveys? What did you use?
Yes, I think I can do it. Because we know that Esplanade is an island state, and in comparison, we would take some other island states from our real world. So as for me, it was something like Malaysia with 70 million people. As a next point is due to age. We know that company can't work with people that are underage, and old people won't be interested in our company. So because of that, 1/3 out of it I have taken out because of the age. Next part is the profession. As we remember, there is only 3 main parts in Esplanade market. It's agriculture, fishing, and tourism. And we already know, and I guess we know that fishermen and farmers won't be interested in our services. And because of that, I cut another 2/3 out of it. Next part is car usage. From the numbers that we got, I have taken another half because in this country, using cars would be much easier. It's not as overpopulated as Zealand. It's not have big cities with traffic jam. And so due to this, car usage would be much more useful. Next part I have taken because of preferences. We know that some people would prefer bikes or some people can't afford our services. And because of that, I have cut it down another 4 million. There were left only 4 million of people. And I have added to them another 4 because of tourism. And we know that tourism is popular in that country. So overall, we got 8 million. But as we look at Zealand, we see that the company can't handle all the markets. And because of that, I have taken only 2 million of new users. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, dear team. So I think that's all for you. And we are going to the next team. Next team is 4 boys and 1 girl.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You may share your presentation. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's good.
You can start.
Dear Jory, are you ready? Yes. Dear team, you may start.
Good morning, everyone. Our team was given several ideas to work with. For when we created SWOT analysis, risk analysis, and for some idea we created the analysis. Now let's move towards idea A, cybersecurity and its risks.
Okay, so let's start. And the activity A was connected with cybersecurity of runabout. We should set up the controls that should be put in place to prevent runabouts employees being victims of social engineering. During 1 month, we must implement systems to protect the company from hacking. We've chosen the monitoring of employee activity at the workspace. We made SWOT analysis about the usage of cybersecurity instruments. Our strengths are financial security, protection against hacking, improving the level of labor discipline, protection of employee personal data, stock growth, identification of other problems in the work of employees, and ability to control remote employees. Weaknesses are employee distrust and high expenses. The opportunities are attracting new users by improving security settings, reducing the number of injuries and damage to property during hoverboards using, and improving our reputation. The threat is consumers' refusal to use hoverboards with speed limits. We've also made the risk analysis. There are 3 main risks: employee distrust, demotivation, and probability of leakage of personal data of employees. We also find the countermeasures for all of them, as you can see on the slide. As you can see at the risk matrix, the first and the third risks have medium probability of occurrence and amount of damage, while demotivation will be really harmful, but this risk has the least chance of occurrence. So our steps to implement these cybersecurity instruments are to find necessary software to implement monitoring, installing it to all company computers, installing a bot for telephone conversations, which will save our company from the situations, one which was described in the text of case, better testing of the whole system, monitoring the activities of employees throughout the month, and analyzing of results. So at the conclusion, we decide that this idea should be undertaken because it strengthens the security system and help us to save that data.
Now let's talk about activity B. The main idea of this activity to transfer all our IT systems from in-house to foreign cloud service provider. We also created SWOT analysis for this. Let's start with the strengths. First of all, it's cost effective. It is easy to provision our systems and applications. It is easy to expand. It has a convenient level of accessibility and energy saving. However, it has some weaknesses. Additional training is required for our employees to work with new cloud services. It is difficult to integrate with our local software. It increases our dependence on IT supplier, and there is a high risk of appearing data bottlenecks and data breaches. Now let's talk about opportunities. First of all, it's adaptive to our future needs, and it provides us with quick solutions for similar problems. However, there are significant threats. First of all, there's lack of specific standard regulation for cloud services, has lots of hidden costs, and a great possibility of data leaking to undesired counterparties. We also made the risk analysis with countermeasures. There are 3 main risks. First of all is data leaking. It can lead to a loss of confidential data, which will damage the image of our company and lead to lawsuits. And the countermeasure for this to increase data literacy and runabout employees, creation of monitoring system to prevent the usage of unlicensed code, and introduction of our own encryption keys. The ways to solve data bottlenecks, which may cause hoverboard number monitoring to stop, is to create a forecast model that predicts any system weaknesses. And the third risk is difficult integrations with our local systems. It may cause an increase in overall working hours on the projects. So before implementing any cloud solutions into our business, we should change our software architecture. Also, we created cloud services integration course, which includes working with APIs, including of a new documentary database, data storage, secured workspaces, secured bot for automatic call answers, and many others. And it costs $81,000 per month. And we think that this idea should be undertaken.
Let's move on to activity C. The main idea of this activity is to identify the main challenges, the business risks and opportunities related to runabouts entry into the international market. Let's start with the strengths of this idea. Firstly, it is the absence of competitors at the initial stage. Secondly, Minister of Tourism interested in runabout services. Turning to the opportunities. Runabout might create a new design of hoverboards with water protection, especially for Esplanade, because it is an island country, so it has a humid climate. Besides, in case of successful entry into the Esplanade market, Runabout may receive new offers and it might be growth of market capitalization. Turning to the weaknesses. Firstly, there is high costs of creating the necessary infrastructure for the safe using of hoverboards. For example, a technical center for repairing hoverboards, a training center for safe riding of hoverboards, etc. Secondly, the problem will arise with hiring qualified employees. Also, there may also be problems with logistic chains, such as the delivery of hoverboards and components for them to the island. Also, the problem might be related with the fact that Esplanade has no developed infrastructure to attract young tourists. Turning to the threats, to begin with, as mentioned above, this is a humid climate. Threats numbered 2, 3, and 4 will be discussed in more detail later. Also, it might be of falling market capitalization in case of failure. Turning to the risk analysis, firstly, it is currency risk. When domestic currency appreciates against the foreign currency, profits in the foreign country decrease after being exchanged back into the domestic currency. Countermeasure is hedging. For example, Runabout may buy futures, currency forwards, or options in the foreign exchange market. The purpose of such hedging is to reduce the risk that price changes in the foreign exchange market will negatively affect the company's income and profit. Secondly, it's political risk. For example, the Esplanade government might impose trade barriers even if government deems hoverboards injury causing. Countermeasure is that because of tourism is one of the most important components of the country's GDP, the Esplanade's Minister of Tourism can help avoid sanctions against Runabout by explaining to the government that Runabout's presence in the Esplanade will have a positive impact on the country's economy. Thirdly, it is hiring qualified employees. It's difficult to hire qualified employees because the country's economy is based on tourism, commercial fishing, and agriculture. So Esplanade has little or no workers in the technology sector. Countermeasure means creating a center for staff training and professional development. We think that this activity shouldn't be undertaken.
Yes, let's move to activity D. The idea is to expand to another town as an exclusive operator. In this slide, you can see our SWOT analysis. So let's start with strengths. It is greater technological capability and common production standards because we are the only one operator in the town. The opportunities are government support and perspective of the region. So the region is growing, the interest for the region is growing. So we think that it even can be one of the cultural centers of Zealand. Why not? Weakness is reduction of services quality. Threats are responsibility for organization of logistics system, worsening of the relations with government, and exit from nearby cities. So here you can see strategic challenges in meeting velocities needs. Firstly, it is creating logistics system. However, we can say that Runabout company is very experienced in providing micro-mobility services and it has a deep understanding of the flow of the pedestrians through city centers. And it even worked with city councils. It sought advice about transportation services from on a consultancy basis. The next strategic challenge is quality control and development of the services because they are the only one operator and they have no competitors. The way to solve it is to have a strong contact with our customers. Here you can see also strategic implications of agreeing not to operate in other towns within 30 miles of velocity. First is loss of revenue. Second is competitors will take over the market. And third is closing docks costs. However, we are going to try to negotiate not to exit the nearby cities, but we can say that Zealand is a very large country, and it could be compared with India or China, and the distance between cities in India and China is more than 30 miles, so we won't lose much revenue. So in order to correctly calculate investment plan, we try to make a project plan. So on the next slide, you can see work breakdown structure. So firstly, we are going to make project plan, project schedule, and project budget. Then there'll be negotiations and signing up contracts. Next is preparation. It includes creating logistics system, leaving other cities or not, and making docks and buying hoverboards. And the final step is implementation. It's testing and fully implementation. Here on the next slide, you can see work breakdown structure. Next slide, please. Yes, on the previous slide, there was a work breakdown structure. Organizational breakdown structure, I mean, and a project team. So we can move to the next slide. Here are all our calculations, the calculations of salary costs and total costs. And you can see that all efficiency ratios are really high. So this project will have a great profit. Next slide, please. So here you can see our roadmap. So first month will be project plan, second month is negotiations, third and fourth month is preparations, and fifth month is implementation. So, and on the sixth month, all the process will work. So we decided that these activities should be undertaken.
Moreover, we had to think. Moreover, we had to think about the activity E, how to increase the company's performance and profitability. And we decided that the most effective solutions for this are the solutions from operational management sphere. We used the 4V model, the volume of output, variety, variation, and visibility. This model is aimed to cut costs. In this slide, you can see the current situation in Runabout. We have two big links. It is a low volume of output and the high level of variation. These points make our costs higher. So we have to make it lower. What we want to advise, to increase the volume, we should enter the B2B sector. A company should collaborate with delivery services, excursion agencies, and hotels, for example. Websites and web pages, rise
1 minute,
and telemarketing can help with this. In order to reduce the demand fluctuations, we should launch service subscription and individual promo codes and promotions. This is more profitable for the customer than permanent rentals, and it enables the company to extend the rental time to the user, to spread it evenly throughout the day, not only during rush hours.
Also, after discussing all the ideas, we prioritize them in a plan. So cybersecurity, then survey update, when expanded to another town, while cost-cutting ideas should be implemented parallel to others. For all of these ideas, we have 1 month for implementing, and up to the rest of the year, we have to control and monitor this. Thank you for your attention. We are ready to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, dear team. So now I give the floor. Give the floor to our jury. Please do not hesitate to ask your questions. Yes, Alina, you are welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So, Tim, could you please back to the slide with activity C that you reject? And I would like, so you prepare the good analysis why you shouldn't go to this opportunity. And my question is, which weaknesses and threat should disappear that you change your decision? Because of it's a good opportunity to reach a new market, a new consumer, and make a lot of additional profit without, let's say, any war with competitors. So could you please explain which weaknesses and threats should be changed so lead your change mind?
We think that there are combine of these weaknesses and threats, and for example, we think that the Estonia doesn't have developed infrastructure for young tourists, and it's more suitable for older tourists who like to be alone with nature. As a result, the company will have to solve a large number of potential problems, such as currency risks. But I'm sorry. Such as high costs of creating the necessary infrastructure. It means to it means that runabout must
let me help you. Yeah, I think that such weaknesses as high cost of creating infrastructure should be taken away for us to enter the new market, because hilly, humid climate forces us to create new engineering ideas for hoverboard, to acquire new costs on creating new models for such a small market as Esplanade. We don't really know the amount of people living there. However, I think that the market capacity is really small for us to invest in a project of upgrading our hoverboards. And this coincides with the threats such as humid climate, which also requires special protection for hoverboards.
So if I understand right, your main idea that the amount of opportunity of additional profit and revenue is so small, but investment to infrastructure and investment to other asset is so big. And so does it mean that there are no chance to activity C to be implemented?
I think in the nearest future, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I would like to ask a question. Could you return to slides with 4V model? Next. Oh, stop. As well as I understood, you discussed points related to volume. I understood. Could you please explain variety effect for cost cutting and performance enhance? So how higher variety or lower variety influences or impacts on cost level?
Thank you for the question. The variety is the number of products that we want to people use. We use only hoverboards. That's why we don't need to it help us to standardize their technique and
Okay.
yes.
So I understood that now we have approximately one service, one product,
Yes,
and so that's why we have limited opportunities to downsize this range of services. Because, but for example, we can just a moment, I don't know, maybe load something interesting or propose interesting content for our drivers or riders. I don't know how to say driver of this vehicle. Maybe we can propose additional services. We can launch additional services. And why these new services deteriorate performance or margins. So please explain these mechanics, how variety or richness of our product range can impact on cost level, margin level, because many modern companies have a strategy, diversity and variety of product range. But your model recommends that variety means higher cost, and that's why it's not beneficial.
Yeah, we use the model of cut costing. So from the point of cut costing, low variety is good. But
why?
I don't know how to explain it right. But when we spread the variety, we need to spend a lot on other products, and the it requires a big range of, I don't know how to skills, a lot of people who are good at different spheres. And that's why it make costs higher.
Okay. So we need investments in each one additional product title.
Yes.
Even if we can sell only one unit of this title. Please continue your explanation. What does it mean? What variation mean?
Variation is demand.
Variation means demand.
Demand fluctuations, to be correct.
So and so if we have higher fluctuations, our costs will be getting higher. So why? I don't know.
Because
why?
Okay. If the demand fluctuations is high, our costs are high because we have
costs high. If I have smaller demand, I have
because our hoverboards are not used and it is lost profit. Or when the demand is high, we have not enough hoverboards and it's lost profit.
But that's about profit. We are talking about costs. I understand about revenue. I understand that variation of demand for our services negatively influences our revenue stream, our cash inflow stream, but I don't understand why high variation means higher costs. It means less predictable revenue, less predictable income, but why about costs?
Let me help. I think that a variation means that due to any, for example, product cycles, we'll have a great risk of losing profit. For example, we'll have to create a stabilization fund, for example, to help our company during the crisis. So great fluctuations in demand will force our company to accommodate more money in our bank accounts, not in investments, for example.
Okay, so as well as I understood, higher unpredictability means more reserves from company.
Yeah.
So more investments to to support demand, maybe to push this demand, and means cash flow, reservation, conservation. Okay, and the last one, visibility. So high visibility means high costs. Why?
As we already know, visibility affects level of costs. So when the service is high visible, it demands people that, for example, more qualified. They need to communicate with people, and our hoverboards isn't a social service, so the people see only the product.
Yes, so, but please explain the link between why higher visibility requires more qualified staff.
For example, if you go to the, I don't know, to the shopping and you see a cashier, and he must be friendly, he must make you buy more. And
that's about visibility?
Yes. For example, at the airport, when the personnel pack our baggage, we don't see this process. That's why people may be low qualified, and we don't need to spend a lot on their salary.
Now it sounds like customer support, customer relationship, but not like visibility. No, because visibility for me, for example, if I'm in a supermarket, visible means product on the level of my eyes. So that's visible. That's why I buy it. Okay, process, merchandising.
So people see only the product, the hoverboard, and they don't look when people check their.
I disagree with the opinion that visibility in any case requires more qualified staff. Because now in the internet we can see how to say with SEO optimization, search engines like Yandex and Google, we buy products because of their visibility. Higher visibility requires more staff. That's my opinion.
Higher qualified staff.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I give a little chance to other jury members to ask question if you have.
While we're on this slide, just to make this quick, you've explained how the costs are linked to different concepts in the 4V model. How would you actually address the variation in demand? How would you come from high variation to low variation, as your arrow suggests here?
Okay. Moment. In the case where reason that customers use hoverboards only in rush hours. I don't remember, from 7 to 9 p.m. and a.m. So when people have promo code and subscription, their rental time is spreaded. And people use is not only rush hours. So we don't have this fluctuation between demands in the morning and evening.
Would you actually influence demand for the mobility there, or just the demand, well, just the amount of people using your particular app in that regard? Would you be able to, let's say, influence market demand as a whole? How would you do that?
Promo codes and promotions motivate people to use hoverboards, not only when they really need them, but just to have joy and so on during their whole day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, team. So our time is up, and we are moving to other team, the final one, the least but not the least. Bright minds from Kazan Federal University. Are you here?
Yes, we are here. Can we start?
So yes, you may share your presentation. Good. And dear Jory, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So team, if you are ready, you are going to have 15 minutes for presentation. 1 minute left. I will let you know. Okay. So you may start.
Good afternoon, the members of the jury and all the participants via Bright Minds. My name is Andrei Mizerev. I am the captain of the team. So let me introduce the rest of the members. Please meet Alina Gilfanova.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Полина Попова.
Hello, everybody.
Konstantin Khlobostov.
Hi.
Amir Mengazov. So now I guess we may start.
Micromobility business have seen strong demand as a result of COVID-19, despite an initial slowdown at the start of the pandemic. And as consumers take advantage of this growing trend, the market opportunity continues to expand. In the United States alone, the micromobility market is predicted to be worth between 200 billion to 300 billion by 2030. According to a survey of 8 countries conducted by Oliver Wyman, 44% of riders are willing to increase their use of micromobility options post-pandemic, while only 22% would decrease their use. In the long run, it's predicted to be a boost from 5 to 10% in the number of passenger kilometers traveled by using micromobility options.
I will now talk briefly about the Canal's model of runabout company. Both local governments and mirroring robotics have a huge impact on how runabout operates, with local governments giving permission to operate in a given city and mirroring robotics being the only supplier. Key proposition of runabout is to create efficient, safe, and convenient ways of transportation. The company has a high markup. They're most likely pursuing a differentiation strategy, which means that there is a margin for reduction in case if the price competition begins. Apart from that, there are also several opportunities to enhance a company's operational efficiency and profitability. So let's discuss them in more detail.
Recently, the company faced a problem with increased hoverboard speed limit as a result of hack using social engineering. Successful social engineering hacks rely on the intruder being able to create an impression that he or she works for an organization. That's how the creator of the hoverboard speed hack was able to receive the code by creating an illusion that he works for a company he's a software developer. That's why we as a team have to create and implement a new control system to prevent this from happening again. We created 3 simple steps to reduce the risk of being victim of social engineering. First one is to restrict all confidential information. The illusion of a colleague could be created by having similar information that only workers seem to know. All confidential information such as work phone number, email, timetables, etc. should be kept in secret. Second part is being cautious during communication. Often small mistakes could lead to potential severe damage for the company. All of the emails and phone calls should be double-checked and verified. Last but not least is reporting. Employees should report all noticed attempts of hacking. They shouldn't deal with this on their own. Now let's talk about the ways to control these innovations. First of all, clear agreement between employees and the company should be created. Everyone should understand that he is responsible for his own safety and even sign a non-disclosure agreement to be legally bound. Second step is developing discipline within employees. They shouldn't want to use their work information in their personal lives. Also, they must report all suspicious activity and be not engaged in one. Last but not least, we should run tests and examinations. Great solution for this is online quizzes and penetration testing when a potential hacker tries to find a way to the company confidential information. Now let's switch up to the financial part of this activity. Initial cost could be up to a couple of millions, where 1.7 million will go to initial training of all our employees and 300,000 for later check-ins and penetration tests. It may seem like a lot. However, according to CIMA, the average data breach could cost a company roughly $4 million, which is double compared to the cost. So the benefits from this opportunity is about 2 million. To sum it all up, we definitely should accept this activity and prioritize it. In addition to that, we created a social engineering awareness balance scorecard in order to trace all our steps to achieve total security.
Now I'm going to talk about server updates using cloud-based solutions. Obviously, it has its benefits, which are, it would relieve runabout of the need to review and oversee the IT systems, 24/7 support and maintenance, high scalability, highly available, fault-tolerant, and lower latency system. However, it has one major flaw, which is having sensitive financial data of our customers on third-party servers. Potential solution is hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud mixes private service of a company and public cloud capabilities offered by cloud vendor. Two systems are distinct and are established at different locations with their own data centers. This will allow Runabout to store sensitive data of customers on private servers and use all the capabilities of cloud systems. Why and what companies use hybrid cloud? When there's changing demand throughout the year, when a company wants to use big data for analysis by running queries on public cloud, companies that are storing sensitive data. SWOT analysis of hybrid cloud. Main strength, leverage all basic cloud advantages, and in addition provides less dependency on one provider. Weaknesses, training and hiring costs, slower data transmission, and it increases complexities for IT departments and managers. Opportunity, provides an integrated experience for users, prevents loss and corruption of data, improves resilience and service delivery. And threats, increase the number of possibilities of attack due to an increase in complexity. What we need to do in the first month? First, choose the provider. Our top picks are Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google GCP. Then we need to deal with the problem that will arise before we move our information and establish the system. First problem is lack of readiness for data migration. To avoid it, IT department needs to analyze operational and performance workload features, plan the provision of data, storage, network, security, and application stacks, make current application and workload portable and operable across an on-premise framework. Skills and expertise gap. Runabout needs to invest in team training, but also consider hiring new talent with experience in hybrid system. This will be an ongoing process that will never end as new technologies appear yearly. Lack of visibility and control. Use backup and disaster recovery to ensure redundancy across the entire data center. Company will eliminate the possibility of data loss and guarantee data availability in case of an outage. Data security problem. Remember, the data is most vulnerable while moving between different cloud environments, so test for DDoS protection and other man-in-the-middle attacks. After all the problems are solved, we should move all needed information into servers and establish the infrastructure. Then, stress tests should be performed in order to check the stability of the product work with boundary loads. Potential problems that might arise during working with the cloud that we should be monitoring all the time. First problem, separation among multiple tenants fails. This can give access to our private data to intruders. Credentials are stolen, gives ability to target companies' data. Increased complexity strains IT staff, which decrease their ability to maintain and manage company's system. Stored data is lost and insiders have used authorized access. In addition, all big corporate cloud providers have created their own programs so that their customers can monitor and control their cloud system. Those programs allow to check for potential issues and deal with them at early stages.
The strategic idea to enter the Esplanade's market can provide an opportunity to raise brand presence and develop capabilities of doing business abroad. The government support make it easier to install docks, obtain all required permissions, and reduce competition on the local market. However, there are several challenges. The first one is about the target market. Esplanade currently attracts all the people looking for peace and quiet, while a target audience and authors from 18 to 40 with an active lifestyle. Thus, the established customers market doesn't seem to be attractive by our service, and changing the tourist demographic takes a lot of time and efforts of the Ministry of Tourism to be made. To make an approximate future market estimation, we have to ask Minister to provide us with the plans which are supposed to be implemented, as well as what other companies are interested in contributing to assess whether the amount of investments which is planned to be made would be sufficient to create such a great change. Moving further, and about is experienced in establish a suitable infrastructure in city center environments, but not in the seaside locations. According to a CGM, a stable internet access is required at almost all of the touch points with customers to ensure the safe ride. Besides, the docks also require internet and power to operate properly. And finally, roads may be convenient enough for walks, but have high curbs and other obstacles to make it difficult to ride on hoverboards. Thus, we need to study the streets and features of local communication system and negotiate with the ministry the possibility to eliminate the shortcomings. Moving further, tourists who've never heard of the company may have a lack of intention to insert their credit card details required to create an account, even if they'd like to try the service. So we can create a digital wallet inside the app, which users can replenish by their card. Thus, the user's data will be transferred not to Runabout, but to the bank, which brings a higher reliability and trust. And we also collaborate with Airbnb and Booking.com to promote our service, so future users could know about us and create their accounts in advance. Finally, Runabout is currently focusing on serving users in the city center environment who need a hoverboard to complete their daily commutes. In relation to them, tourists in Esplanade may have relatively low need for micromobility and use hoverboards only a few times during the long trip. Runabout has some tourists around its customers, so it can do a frequency research and assess whether there is a sufficient demand to fulfill. Besides, as the interior of the island is mountainous, we assume that it won't be possible to operate in other cities of Esplanade apart from those on the coast. So it would be more efficient to focus on expanding into a city environment in a different country to have a greater scope for brand growth. And we also identified some risks which might arise. First, many tourists may have a lack of experience in riding hoverboards, so the number of accidents may rise significantly and Runabout will have to pay more for the insurance cover. Besides, the useful life of equipment may decrease dramatically due to the tropical climate features. The moist air, salt water, and beach sand could cause corrosion of metal parts and damage the batteries. And finally, restrictions and closure of borders due to the pandemic lead to a significant reduction in the flow of tourists and as a result to a dramatic decrease in the in the company's revenue. So we assume that it is better to postpone the idea until the situation normalizes.
Moving forward to the activity of expansion to velocity, let's discuss some of the main strategic challenges and offer responses on them. Firstly, as such an initiative is the first time for Runabout, there arises the issue about the estimation of demand and decision on how many hovers and where should be placed. As a possible response, Runabout can use software predictive features to forecast the demand that was suggested by the IT director. Moreover, the scale of the investment may be based on the real resources and additional measures. Even in the case of estimation error, the excess of hoverboards may be deployed to neighboring cities where Runabout already operates. Or if there will be a shortage, we can find a supplier satisfying us with the required amount of transport units. The City Council of Velocity wishes us to share bicycle on-site hovers, and as Runabout used to provide shared bicycle service previously, it has appropriate knowledge to do it right now. Nevertheless, it requires additional investment in adaptation to existing IT system and existing types of docks. Finally, the operations department has to conclude new agreements with suppliers.
So we also understood that it would be very risky to agree not to provide any services within 30 miles of Velocity. Thus, we need to analyze why the City Council desires to establish this restriction, what they want to achieve in the field of finance, tourist flow, retail taxation, and local business. We should understand that total agreement with this requirement may result in some consequences, and the most significant are: in case of project failure, the city can conclude a contract with other suppliers of micromobile vehicles, as well as we will bear all the responsibility and costs. Then our competitors can take advantage of this opportunity and monitor our development process to eliminate all mistakes in their work, so they will have a competitive advantage. And finally, it could undermine shareholder confidence in runabout.
Therefore, it's important to remember that when concluding an agreement, both parties should be satisfied with the terms of the contract. So we offer the following limitation points for discussion. For instance, can the distance be changed, or can that requirement be set only for a limited period of time? And additionally, the runabout should reach a compromise to use once in order to relocate haulers during rush hours. Below on the slide, you see principles how to determine negotiation points. When all negotiation points have been carried out and we reached mutually beneficial agreements, we also prepared the plan for operating the investment with all stages throughout the year.
And how I would like to present to you our new model designed to calculate the required number of micromobility vehicles. This model can be applied to the situation in which it's necessary to make forecasts without having any experience in the issue being solved. And it's important for us to predict which expenditure budget should be allocated for the purchase of transport units, since the distribution of funds for other costs units depends on this. And moreover, you can notice that our calculations are based on real case study from Indianapolis, USA. And by the way, our model is interactive. That is, you can replace the data at any time and get the result you need.
1 minute.
Suggest activity is a dockless model, also known as a free-floating fleet. The idea behind this model is that our customers can leave their vehicles anywhere in the city that meets the company's geofencing parameters. As a result, riders have complete freedom when utilizing their vehicle, and they don't have to worry about returning them directly to the business. Typically, this gives companies the option to either hire staff to collect and recharge the fleet or get contractors to do it. This means that customers do not have to wait for hoverboards to charge.
To sum up, we suppose that runabout should undertake all activities, except there is mention to explain it in a priority order given on the slide. So that's all. Thank you, and we are waiting for your questions.
Thank you, team. Dear Jory, you are welcome to ask questions. Who will be the first?
I will start, if you don't mind.
Good.
On your first case and the cybersecurity case, you had a slide of 3 steps, I think needs to be implemented or something like that. Yes, exactly. One of them being cautious while communicating. So what does it mean, and how do you reach this? So how do you implement exactly this?
So thank you for the question. I'll be pleased to explain. By this point, we mean that employees should pay a lot of attention while dealing with the customers and clients and potential suppliers and all that stuff. For example, there could be an email from a supplier, but with some change letters. You know, it's called phishing, when they try to prove themselves as some other person, and therefore our employees may think that they're the real supplier or the real client contacting them, and therefore answer there and provide confidential information. So to prevent this from happening, we like to increase the caution while communicating.
I mean, I understand that employees have to be cautious in their communication to peers or to external partners, but how do you ensure that they are?
We may implement some technique, for example, like callback technique when our employee receives an unexpected email or unexpected phone call. He or she would not reply immediately. He would take some time and first of all check if the client is real, there's not a scammer, there's not a hacker, and often after that he will only communicate with him.
Okay.
Okay, if I may add something. So apart from that, Kostya also and we all suggested that there would be a special training for employees, and we actually calculated those trainings, and we compared those numbers. And please, Andrei, can you show the slide with calculations? It's backup number 3, I guess. Yeah, number two, right. So yeah, actually, Konstantin, please tell us about this.
So we calculated, first of all, we choose companies that could provide us with special services that could teach our employees. We identified 2 of them. Udemy cost $80, one purchase, and Skillsoft is a subscription-based program. So we stick with it because it includes online tests and updated information. So it could be more preferable for us. Then we multiply the amount of employees by $100 a year. That's how we received the number that we received. And also we have 11 months of following control of internal audit. And we understand that we should do a penetration testing at least 10 to 12 times. And we just calculated it would be roughly 25,000 according to the data from the internet. So that's why we received the numbers that we received.
And also, as we know, the company actually loses 4 million on one cyber attack. And in that case, according to our calculations, I think it is important to underline again that the company wins on the alternative costs, like $2 million. So it would be beneficial for the company from the point of alternative costs.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the answer. And one more question on your case about cloud migration.
Yes.
Can you go there? So one of your points was for the migration is high scalability. Yes. So what does it mean, particularly for the company, for and about?
9. So high scalability means that, for example, if Runabout will not choose to use cloud, it will have to scale up by buying new servers. But when if it will use cloud, it depends on the subscription and negotiation with the provider of the cloud services on what amount of servers and of data Runabout can store. And high scalability means that it can, without wasting time on building new infrastructure and buying new service and establishing them, it can do it very quickly and easy and much more cheaply in short term, by just making subscription on the cloud provider very easily.
Okay, the answer is clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alina, you are welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you, team, for presentation. And my question, maybe I missed it from your presentation and you need to repeat me, but in your homework, I see that you estimate cost about 2 million for cybersecurity. And in this homework, you also mentioned that the cost a company that could lost due to loss of information will be twice as much. So it could be 4 billion. So the cost of losing of information is 4 billion. So how you calculate this 4 billion? Yes, could you please explain?
Thank you for the question. Actually, this information was given to us by the case. In the case that you provided for the third round, there was a slide with the link from a CIMA site that they calculated that the average cost of data breach for a company is roughly 4 million. That because of stock drop, as it happens in our case, also when our clients change the company because of data breaches that may happen, and some other issues connected with their loss of trust in us and our brand reputation decreasing.
Okay, thank you. And one more question about the idea that you rejected is about the challenges in the new market. So if, for example, some kind of company ask you about the collaboration, so maybe some third party would like to cover the new market and ask you about the franchisee contract. What do you think about it, and what do you think about that your brand, your company will be used of third party, and what your answer on this request?
Okay, let me please just clarify. You're asking about Esplanade or without any connection to Esplanade? Just from the other country apart from Zealand, right?
No, it could be any other country. So let's imagine that some kind of entrepreneur asks you share your brand, your, I don't know, specific kind of work, and pay like rental payment or HIZ payment for your experience, for your brand, and operate for new market, any market in this world.
Actually, I guess this should be considered from the point of long-term strategy for Runabout, because actually we don't have such a data, but first of all, we have to understand, is it consistent with this strategy, and how is it actually plans to develop its future growth? And if this point, like such an option would be considered in a set of options, that I guess we would agree on that, but there are a lot of peculiarities that we need to look through in order to answer that question, especially what this is a market. Probably this is again like an Esplanade's market, such market as an Esplanade's market. So it, I guess we won't agree because we don't want to lose our brand image in case if something goes wrong. So those payments which we can like consume by taking part in this venture may not be consistent with the amount that we have by doing business properly and have a great image in our customers' minds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If there is any other questions? So I see no. Okay, thank you so much, bright minds. I think that we can finish our defenses. All teams have presented their solutions, and I would like to thank all of you. You did a great job. And now we are going to have about 10 minutes break, and we will invite our jury members to deliberate the final results. We will send you a link to private meeting in Zoom. Please check your messages in chat. Please let me know if you receive them or not. Okay, 2 minutes, please. Okay, I see. 2 minutes, please. My colleague will send you in a few seconds. So our jury member will deliberate the final results, and we are going to have 10 minutes coffee break, and then we will all rejoin here. And about 25 minutes past 3 p.m., we will meet each other here again. Well, while our dear jury are deliberating and negotiating on final results, we have to move on. So we will let them to continue their discussion, and we expect them to join us in approximately 7-10 minutes maximum. So now I would like to give the floor to our regional partners, our dear universities. And first of all, I would like to invite Natalia Kosalapova, Professor, Doctor of Economics, Acting Dean of the Faculty of Economics at Southern Federal University. Please, Natalia, you're highly welcome.
Hello, dear colleagues, participants. We are glad to take part in such a significant event. Holding such competitions allows students to test their knowledge, access to level of mastery of competences, and reach the international level on their careers. We hope not only for the victory of our team, but also for further successful cooperation this year. It's very important for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Natalia, for your kind words. So we are looking forward for cooperation too, and I hope to see next year your university team. So now I would like to turn the floor over to Vladimir Keys, Associate Professor, Dean of the Faculty of Corporate Economics and Entrepreneurship at Novosibirsk State University of Economics and Management. Vladimir, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear organizers and participants of the Case-championship. Our university participates in this event for the second year and for the second time with access to the final. This event is a great experience, first of all, for students. However, it's also important for teachers who see specific requests from employers and can improve their work programs. Thank you and good luck to all participants.
Thank you, Vladimir. Yes, we need luck in these hard times. And now I would like to turn the floor over to Kuzminych Natalia, Deputy Director of the Institute of Economics, Finance and Business of Bashkir State University for Research. That's correct. So Natalia, you're welcome. Please turn on your microphone. Yeah.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, participants of the CIMA Emerging Leaders Competition. Bashkir State University is grateful for the opportunity to take part in this event. Special thanks I would like to say to the organizers and partners, and I hope that CIMA Emerging Leaders Competition will be permanent for many years. Take care of yourself. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And now I would like to give the floor to Anton Shigayev, Professor of the Institute of Management, Economics and Finance at Kazan Federal University. Anton, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, Case Championship organizers and participants. I'd like to thank the Case Championships organizers for creating the wonderful opportunity for students to try the role of finance professionals and work in teams on projects aimed at developing and improving business strategy and performance of a realistic company applying modern digital technologies. And also thanks for having students' presentations being evaluated by leaders from professional finance community. The projects and assignments that students worked on helped them to understand important business issues that companies face on modern markets. The work on case assignments also helped students to develop solid understanding and new skills on analyzing business strategy, incorporating digital technologies into corporate strategy, managing strategic risks, managing and monitoring performance and the implementation of strategy, evaluating strategic choices and making decisions in a team. All those skills are critically important for modern finance professionals. Overall, the CIMA Case Championship really stimulates and promotes an interest in CIMA education and events. In Kazan, we already have students who want to study CIMA courses and take part in CIMA Case Championship next year. So hopefully see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anton. Well, we have a few minutes to tickle our nerves because we don't have final results and we don't have our jury members back to us. So let's give them 5 more minutes and relax. Take it easy. It will be soon. So, yes, I think that we finally can start our awarding ceremony. And I would like to invite Alina Krasnyukova, finance business partner at Unilever, to announce the winners of the 3rd place. Alina, please welcome.
Okay, thank you. So today I will join to announcement the 3rd place, and I really glad to applaudissement from my side and from all jury members that the 3rd place is taken to team Born to Count from the Southern Federal University. So my congratulations and congratulations for you. Yes.
Good. Congratulations. And now we are going to announce the 2nd place. And I invite Elena Makieva, Deputy Head of the School of Finance of the Higher School of Economics, to announce the winners of the 2nd place.
I would like to my sincere thanks and appreciation for all participants. It should be a high level of presentation, all teams, but still the 3 teams turned out to be the announced the team and that took 2nd place, Bright Minds from Kazan University, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
my congratulations.
Congratulations, team. So now we are going to the 1st place, and I invite Vadim Bazhenik, Head of CIMA Eurasia, to announce the winners of the 1st place, the winners of the Case Championship. Vadim, welcome.
Thank you very much. Also, it has been a long and arduous journey, and it started almost like 3 months ago, and you have gone a very, very long way. And I hope that you enjoyed the process and learned something new, that it was useful for you as well as for us. It was a very interesting exercise, and we're really, really happy to see so many participants and so many bright minds, not like the name of the team, but bright minds in general, like very bright students. It was a tough competition. There were very good quality presentations, and but in the end, there will only be just one winner, and this winner is a team that is named Golden Chance from the Higher School of Economics. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job, guys. So that's all for today. I would like to thank every one of you, dear participants, jury members, guests, organizers, partners. So every one of you make these days so much special on a high level. Thank you, and I hope to see you in the next year. And dear winners, we will contact with you a little bit sooner. Don't worry. So thank you, take care of yourself, stay safe, and good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, guys.